What is up, everyone? Welcome to my special E3 highlights and recap video. You've been following me for the last few days on Twitter at SeanMaryNJ, where I've been live tweeting up to the minute information on E3, and my E3 2016 playlist on my YouTube channel. I am Mary NJ Away. I have been on YouTube since the beginning, doing gaming before everybody else, before it was big, before it was trending, way before anything basically. I used to do video gaming with a camcorder way before direct capture. Been covering E3 on YouTube for years since the beginning. I am extremely excited about E3. E3 is like Christmas time for me, and I absolutely enjoy covering for you guys, checking out the demos, checking out the conferences, checking out the stage shows. We do free giveaways here. We do free digital cards, free codes, free everything, free tech, whatever you want. I do Xbox Live trials, PlayStation Plus trials. Really fun time here. I'm always giving back to the subscribers and the viewers. Very appreciative. And this is an excellent time of year to be a gamer and a YouTuber. But it's very busy. I've not stopped since. We just got done playing the Resident Evil 7 demo. I'm going to be doing some more E3 games today. But this is the big one. This is the one that I've been talking about all week. Basically, what this is going to be, this is going to be the best and worst of E3. What I think could have been better, improved. What I think was great. Game of show, and who won E3, meaning who of the big press conferences won E3. Let's get right into it. So, I've seen everything. I've taken everything in. I'm still watching all this, the gameplay demos of the games for the next couple days or whatever. But the majority of the major stuff we've seen already. And there's a lot to take in, let me tell you. And I have a lot of views, and I have a lot of thoughts on these things. Let's get right into the press conferences. The big part of E3. Who's got a big press conference? And we'll start off with EA. And I'm going to give EA a 4 out of 10, and I'm going to tell you why. Actually, I'm going to more so wrap it up at the end of this video, but I've been having these discussions all week on Twitter. And, again, EA had good games to show. They actually have games that I'm extremely excited about. It's not really about that. It's like, oh my god, how could you give such a low score to a press conference? It's not the games, it's the press conference. The way the press conference was constructed, it was a complete mess and a complete bore for the majority of the conference. Okay, when you have 4 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever it was talking about Mass Effect Andromeda, and you take 15 to 20 minutes or whatever for EA Sports, FIFA, and Madden, your priorities are wrong. Okay, who sits down at EA and says, this is how we're going to construct our show? Okay, we have these thousands of people coming from thousands of miles away, spending whatever amount of money their companies are sending them. They're up there in the front. They're getting ready to cover this event. You got the fans, the viewers, the supporters. You think they want to go there to watch a game that came out for the past 30-something years, an annual sports franchise? Or do you think they want to see a freaking game that they've been waiting forever to see? This mind boggles me, because it's not the first time they do it year after year. You don't watch the other press conferences like Sony and Microsoft, fucking press conferences that hit it out of the park. Home run, grand slam. And every year you watch them and you don't say, you know what, we could do that. And you know what? You don't have to have everything that they have announced. You could take what you already have, but construct it better. Don't put filler or fluff or stupidness or dancing giraffes or dancing monkeys and 10 minutes talking about a movie. And I'm talking about Ubisoft too. They had a little bit of a better conference, right? Pretty much same amount of good games. The problem with Ubisoft is, and I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10, because I think they had a good press conference. They had a lot of good games to show. Again, could have been a lot higher score. What was it, like 2 hours or over 2 hours? What the hell? Just because you have a long press conference doesn't mean it's going to be jam-packed every second. How much of that was stupidness? Talking about a movie. Why don't they show the new Assassin's Creed game? Talking about a movie. These crazy, silly segments. All that time in the beginning talking about Just Dance. And you know what? I'm not saying that you have to be negative. There's you can be positive, happy, uplifting. That's fine, but you got to do it constructively in your press conference to keep people's attention. Gamers are very critical people. Movies, music, video games is the top. People are not satisfied. Trust me. I've lived it all my life as a young child. I see what people criticize. And I've always been on the more positive side, but I can't let certain things slip that I feel deep down inside. If I think that something's should be addressed, I address it. Again, the games were fine. It's just the way that you did your press conference. Again, look at what look what they showed of Mass Effect 4. People behind the computers working on the game. People want to see the damn thing, you know. I'm gonna loop back around at the end when I recap all my scores because I'm gonna tell you how I came to these scores. But you can already tell. Bethesda, I gave an 8. I think Bethesda does a great job. Bethesda's actually come up and said, "Hey, listen, we're a press conference type company." Yeah, people were saying, "Well, Bethesda's press conference wasn't as good as last year's." That's true, it wasn't. Last year's was amazing, but you got to remember, it was their first big press conference, right? It was the year that Fallout 4 was coming out, had just got announced, right? They debuted, they talked about Dishonored 2, they talked about Doom. Doom wasn't out yet. That was a huge freaking year for them. And it was a huge year this year for them. I mean, I gotta be honest, I was excited to hear about Skyrim Remastered. Skyrim is my all-time top favorite games of all time. I absolutely love Skyrim. I play the shit out of it on my channel. Every time we hit a milestone or a subscriber or viewer count, I do that for the subs. We go back and play Skyrim. I play it on anniversaries. Playing a remastered version was definitely my top priority, and I couldn't wait for it to be announced. No. But back to the games, back to the press conferences. I think Bethesda did a great job. I wish Todd Howard was there. He did a little segment. And Bethesda's a great company, and I definitely am interested to see what they have coming out. Dishonored 2, I'm super psyched about. The mods so far are awesome. There's going to be, from day one, there's going to be mods of Skyrim remastered for the consoles. So now we have those three out of the way. Now we have the big three. And I'm going to say right now, here's my scores, and here's why. And then we're going to wrap it up, and then we're going to talk about best game of show and the stinkers of the conference. And the stinkers aren't even really game related, to be honest with you, for the majority of it, for the problems that I had with E3. But I'm going to give Nintendo an 8. I'll tell you why. I'm going to give Microsoft a 9. Maybe even a 9.5. Hats off. And Sony a 10. Sony wins. Okay? Now, let's talk. When Microsoft did their press conference, I said hats off on Twitter. They won E3. I mean, I know Sony didn't go yet. Nintendo didn't go yet. Microsoft, you are doing a great job. They are so lucky to have a guy like Phil Spencer. And I'm going to tell you something. A lot of the things that I've had problems with these press conferences, Microsoft was part of it. Microsoft was part of that problem. Microsoft was in that same boat. They took a lot. And they learned. And Phil Spencer is fantastic for this company. He really knows, because he is a gamer. That's why he's different. He's a class act. He always thanks Sony for their games when they announce them, for their great press conference. He always thanks Nintendo. He loves playing The Last of Us. He's a down to earth gamer. He's an awesome guy, and it really shows. And he took Microsoft from having some of the worst press conferences ever in history to some of the best. He's been on a roll. And for Sony to beat them, right? That's really something for Sony, because I'm going to tell you something right now. Sony did an absolutely stunning job, because they didn't just win, they won over somebody who should have won. That goes to show you how good they are. And I knew during the Microsoft press conference that Sony is the masters of press conferences. And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's either going to be tied this year or it's going to be Microsoft. They're kicking it. But man, Sony just blew them out. And there's no bias here. There's no fanboyism here. I've played every single system since I was a young child. I always had whatever system in my museum of video gaming here. We have every single hardware system ever came out ever. All right? If everybody's seen ever my gaming room tours or whatever, I have everything. Everything. I still go on eBay every day and buy shit. And I support everybody equally, and I tell you who won or not, being fair. Not, I'm a Sony fanboy, Sony won, blah, blah, blah. Why didn't even watch the other press conferences? Sony, or Microsoft, or Nintendo. I'm not, that's not me. If you win, I'm going to tell you you won. And if Sony won, hands down, fair and square. Nothing against Microsoft, nothing against Nintendo. Here's what they did. Sony comes out of the gate like 5 games in a row. Boom, 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 boom. Exclusives. Andrew House. Sony is the best place to play. This is why. They did VR right. They had no filler. They had no fluff. Their time slot was constructed perfectly to grab attention of the viewer. Take note, Ubisoft and EA, your 2.5 hour whatever press conference. Sony's was like 1 hour and 27 minutes. A perfect time limit to keep your attention, and it had no BS. It was boom, 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 boom. It was 1 hour and 20-something minutes of pure craziness. That's how you do a press conference. And I'm going to tell you something, why I rated Nintendo higher than I should have. Nintendo was getting a lot of shit. Right? The big N's been getting a lot of shit lately. You're not even going to talk about the NX. You don't even have press conferences anymore. You're not even going to have a Nintendo Direct anymore. Now you're going to have a stupid treehouse. You know why? They did it right because they only showed what they had. They didn't have enough or wasn't ready to reveal the NX yet. They didn't want to talk about any other video games because they're in the process of going to another console. They did the right thing. Instead of having a 2-hour something conference like Ubisoft, they did it right. They didn't want to bore you with BS. They did what they had to show. Their main goal was, we're going to show you Zelda, and guess what? They did it. From what they had and what they did it. You got your Zelda, trust me. Everybody got to see it finally. They got to play it. It was a playable demo on the floor. They went through it. They showed you the amiibo support. They showed you the new mechanics. They had a whole treehouse. They talked a little bit about Pokemon. But the main focus was Zelda. They said that's what they were coming for, and that's what they did. Hats off, Nintendo. Because instead of wasting people's time with BS or, the best thing about these press conferences is that the press conferences that show you what they got, not what they're going to do. Sony showed you what we're working on, what we got in our hand, and Nintendo did too because they didn't have anything else to show. They could have said, we're working on this, a sketch. We're working on this sometime in 2019. We're working on this. This is what the console will look like. They didn't do that. They came and they showed, and that's why I gave them a better score than I was originally going to give them. Because I says, man, Nintendo, you're not really bringing anything. But they did it the right way. They didn't want to make themselves look like fools. And be honest with you, Zelda was freaking amazing. And, I talked about how Nintendo was part of the problem also, like I was talking about these other older press conferences, how, you're waiting for years and years and years to see a game and you're never seeing anything, and you're always seeing a trailer or a cutscene. Nintendo was part of this problem, and they finally came through with Zelda. People wanted to see Zelda. And guess what? Guess what? And even aside from Sony, if you look at all the press conferences, how amazing Sony did and how amazing Microsoft did, here's a company that came with one game. Their entire E3 presentation was one game, and guess what? Pretty much everybody is just talking about Zelda. Nintendo are masters at what they do. I mean, go anywhere about E3, type it in. They're talking about God of War, they're talking about Horizon, they're talking about, Gears of War, sure. But they're talking about Zelda. And when you talk about video game of E3 this year, they're talking about Zelda. Nintendo has a huge franchise, and they know it. And they based their whole E3 on it, and it worked, in my opinion. I haven't heard anybody mention anything else about Nintendo except for Zelda. So that's how you do it. They did it the right way. EA could have did this. I don't know who sits down at the table at EA and says, you know what? Sony, man, they hit it out of the park. 120 something minutes nonstop talk. We could do that. We could construct what we had into a really, really good conference, but they didn't. They drag it out. The person gets boring. The person doesn't care about a cast member in the Assassin's Creed movie. He doesn't care about monkeys and giraffes dancing on stage. They want to see freaking games that they want to see. Let's go watch 15, 20 minutes combined about FIFA story mode and Madden. But let's watch behind the scenes for 2 minutes of Mass Effect Andromeda. No! Nobody wants that. It's the opposite. Take notes. Take notes from Sony. Take notes from Microsoft. Again, Microsoft was, just like Nintendo, Microsoft was guilty of this. Look at that whole Don Matrick thing. Look at that whole conference of your cable box. This is how you hook up your DVR. This is how you hook up your cable box. They were part of that problem. They learned, though. Hey, that's fine. Everybody learns. EA doesn't. Ubisoft doesn't. It's the same thing every year. And again, the games they showed were fantastic. I can't wait for Mass Effect. I can't wait for Titanfall. I buy Madden every year. I can't wait for Call of Duty, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. Star Wars Battlefront. Awesome. But you could have did it a lot better to hold a person's... I had people that were leaving. I had people that were leaving my stream, my E3 coverage. They're like, Sean, goodbye. This is nonsense. This keeps dragging. And that's that. So, and I thought Microsoft really did it really, really good. And I think they have actually, a little bit of a side note, I think they actually have the edge on Sony as far as hardware. Now, look at this now. There was no mention of the PlayStation Neo. Now, I have a couple theories on this, because this is to ask subscriber questions, because they wanted me to put my spin on this. They were interested to see what I was thinking. I'm going to tell you right now, because I told you how I feel about the press conferences, and I justified my scores. So we're going to move on to the next thing. The interesting thing of it is that I think that Sony did want to show the Neo off. If you notice, it was very interesting. Andrew House made that statement a few days before E3, or whenever it was, basically about that we're not going to show the Neo off. Okay, don't forget, you got other gaming conventions. You got the PlayStation Experience. The other interesting thing of it is that if you notice that whole thing with Days Gone, which looks absolutely freaking amazing, by the way, they did the trailer, and then that was it. And then at the end of the conference, they ended with going back to that game by showing it off, by showing a lot of gameplay. Very interesting, almost like cut and paste last minute. I think what was supposed to happen is I think that the Days New trailer was supposed to show, and they were supposed to cut right into the gameplay, and at the end of their show, they were supposed to show the Neo off, but last minute changes. And I'm going to tell you something else what I find interesting. I've heard from people, and this has been reportedly true, the Scorpio is a freaking beast and blows the Neo out of the water. Who would have thought? Microsoft has the edge over Sony with hardware. They said that freaking Scorpio is freaking powerful. Now, if you're Sony, I don't know what you do at this point. It's not out yet. It's not even talked about yet. Do you go back and start from scratch and reconstruct your system to be on par or more powerful? Or do you just keep what you have in production and make them? I don't think it's that easy. I think Sony has to pretty much continue what their plans were. I think Microsoft really... I saw Mark Cerny sitting there over at the Microsoft press conference when they were talking about the Scorpio. I think they're really in shock. I don't think people thought this damn Scorpio was supposed to be that strong. I'm not saying at all that Sony can't compete, but I think Sony already started, and I think it's underpowered compared to the new Xbox. And that's why I don't think that they really talked about it. And that whole cut and paste thing with Days Gone at the end. Believe me, that Days Gone demo was ready to be shown. I think it was ready to be shown right after the trailer, because why would you talk about a game and then at the end of the press conference go back and talk about it again? It just felt weird. But who knows? I don't work for them, so I can't tell you the facts. But as a viewer, that's what because like I said, when I watch these press conferences, I analyze them and I take in a lot and I make notes. as far as what stunk, in my opinion, for E3, it wasn't games. No games. To be honest with you, this is one of the first E3s that every single game I saw, indie or AAA or VR, I liked. I absolutely liked. I thought Sony did it very good with the VR. They really got people pumped. I saw people on my Twitter that weren't even really interested in VR, and they want one now because of what they showed. I mean, freaking Resident Evil 7, Star Wars Battlefront, these games that are being strictly developed for VR, they look insane. Insane. And I'll say it again, and I've always said this since the beginning of VR. VR is incredibly hard to market because VR, you have to see for yourself. You can't watch a guy playing games. Even when I do my direct capture of VR in October, you guys, you can't experience it. You have to do it yourself. So hats off to them because I thought they did a great job for what they were able to do. And just by playing like the Resident Evil 7 demo that I got for E3, I could just imagine. I'm playing it without a headset, but I could already imagine like, whoa, this is going to be sick. They showed Doom. They showed Final Fantasy. Really, really cool. I'm looking forward to it. I got my headset pre-ordered months ago. I got the $4.99 one with the camera and the wands and everything. But anyway, and it comes with a demo disc of games. But anyway, my phone is actually going off. With that. That's what happens when you work at the gaming studio. So, yeah. I think the only thing that I could say that I didn't like about E3 or that could have been different or that could have changed is the press conferences, the ones that were stinkers or not as good. Take notes. Sony, Microsoft, and even to an extent Nintendo. Hey, if you don't have, instead of wasting minutes and minutes at a time, nobody says that your press conference has to be this long. I've seen press conferences that were under an hour that were fantastic, and I've seen press conferences that were over 2 hours that stunk. You decide, Some things that I wish I got out of E3. I wish Neil Druckmann would have made an announcement about The Last of Us 2. But again, I think what's happening is that a lot of these developers are not showing their games that far in advance, and if they are, I notice they're not giving release dates. For example, God of War. Because look at the backlash that developers have been getting. Oh, you said that it's coming out 2016, and now it's delayed to 2017. I think that's been happening a lot. And even sometimes the developers like, I never even gave you a release date. You just thought it was coming out. So now they don't tell you even a lot of times even a time frame. That I wish I could have seen some more of the actual new Assassin's Creed game they're working on. I would have liked to heard about maybe Destiny 2 being in the works. Or even maybe some more stuff from Rise of Iron. But really, that's pretty much it. I mean, we got our Crash Bandicoot. We got our Skyrim. We got our Last Guardian release date. We found out that they're working on God of War. So I thought it was a great E3. We got to see Zelda. Really not too much to complain about. Just nitpicking. Alright, let's do it. Ready? For the end of my segment. Game of Show. Bum bum ba da dum da da dum dum. Bum ba da dum da da dum dum. Bum ba da dum da da dum dum. Alright. I'm not gonna dress up as a giraffe and dance around the stage. Don't worry. Not yet, anyway. Alright, Game of Show. I couldn't pick. But I did. So I put the top 5. The top 5. Coming from your coolest guy in video gaming. Been around since a lot of these other guys were in diapers. 2008. Before 2008. Actually, 2006. Coolest guy in video gaming. At least I try to be. With my purple shirt. Get ready. Alright. I'm going to start off with 5, and it's going to surprise you. Steep. Yeah, Steep. This game looks sick. Think about it. First of all, first open world sports game? How awesome is that? And let me tell you something. I am a huge fan of SSX. I'm a big fan of snowboarding games. And this is snowboarding. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Paragliding. Skiing. Whoa. This game looks nuts. This game looks absolutely insane. Wing gliding. It looks crazy. It's open world. It's not always about racing, getting to the finish line first. Everybody's doing their own thing. They're making their trails. It looks absolutely beautiful. I will definitely be. I think they said December. I will definitely be buying that game. And this top five was made with not only surprises but games I'm looking forward to, and this is definitely one. All right. And four, I'm gonna. I tried to keep it to five, but four is kind of tied. I want to say four is tied with Days Gone and Ghost Recon Wildlands. I am so super excited for both of those games, and what I've seen from them, it looks absolutely stunning. Like I said, at the end of the Sony press conference, when they showed Days Gone, they were calling it the Last of Us sequel. It looks really, really, really good. Sony Bend. It looks. I cannot wait to. I mean, the hordes of enemies. It looked like Dead Rising times 10, even with the announcement of Dead Rising 4, which looks sick. So yeah, and then I would have to. And Ghost Recon again. The more I see that game, the freaking more awesome it looks. I would say that the third game in my big five would be Injustice: Gods Among Us 2, or as Ed Boon is calling it, Injustice 2. I'm a huge fan of the first one. I'm a huge fan of Ed Boon. I absolutely love fighting games. I love Mortal Kombat. I love the first Injustice. The first Injustice I bought like 3 or 4 times. I got it on the Wii U. I got it on the PS3. I got it on the Vita. I got the definitive edition on PS4. I'm definitely on board with Injustice 2. I saw gameplay of like Supergirl and Batman. The game looks, and Aquaman, the game looks absolutely sick. Definitely number 3 on my list. And number 2 was really number 1 up until a few minutes ago. I'm telling you, 2 and 1 is almost deadlocked. God of War, oh my god, enough said. This game looks absolutely stunning. I knew soon as the gameplay trailer went on that it was Kratos' voice. I said it on Twitter. Wow. The game looks absolutely stunning. One of my number 1 games I wanted mentioned. It was mentioned. Can't wait to get my damn hands on it. I'm just worried about when it's coming out. With no release date, got me thinking it's definitely not coming out this year, but I'm hoping next year, or early or mid. I guess we're going to have to see. Maybe we'll find out more about release date on PlayStation Experience or Gamescom or something. And then, last but not least, number 1 has to go to Zelda. Nintendo came out with the big guns. They dedicated a whole day to it. They showed a lot off. Hats off. Everybody's talking about it. Zelda, Zelda, Zelda. I can't wait to get it, whether it's on Wii U or NX or both. I was saying to the guy, a buddy of mine, that it's almost just like Twilight Princess. If you remember, it came at the end of the life cycle of the GameCube, but then was a launch title on the Wii. The Zelda Breath of the Wind is definitely in that same boat. But either way, I'll be getting it. I'm super excited about it. I really loved a lot of the games shown off at the C3. I mean, honestly, Titanfall 2 looks sick. I'm really interested in the new Call of Duty. All the VR stuff they showed looks awesome. Pokemon Sun and Moon looked sick. Gears of War 4 looks insane. There's another game coming out by Double Fine called Headlander. It looks absolutely nuts. I cannot wait for that game. Decider 2 looks like nothing but awesomeness, like the first one. Huge excited about Crash Bandicoot's reboots. I'm extremely excited about Skyrim Remastered. There's so much to talk about. The Xbox Slim S looks awesome. The new Scorpio sounds like it's going to be a beast. Great stuff. Great time to be a gamer. There's huge stuff on the way. It's very, very exciting time of year. It's a lot to take in. And I hope you guys are going to stay with me for the rest of the year and experience all this stuff hands-on with me. And I'm going to give you back my reactions to all the games as I play them as best I can. You be the judge. You watch the gameplay. I'll be doing unboxings. We have a Pokemon series here. I have a new WWE Sims, Fantasy Sims series coming on. I have a Destiny series. We have a new Overwatch series. We play a lot of Street Fighter. We do everything retro, indie, old. We're not all about new releases. We're not all about first day hype. We play games. We play old games. We play new games. We do everything. No Patreon. 100% free. That's my channel. That's the Mary NJ08 stamp. Hope to see you for the rest of the year and hope to see you for the rest of E3. Again, follow me on Twitter at SeanMurrayNJ. I will be live tweeting about E3 all week. Take care and see you next year at E3.